I just saw a shadow in her tent. That looked like a person.
Of the mountains, far from civilization. A chilling tale unfolded that would leave even the most seasoned paranormal investigators questioning what's real and what's not. This wasn't just another camping trip. This was an expedition into one of the most sinister places whispered about in the world of the supernatural. The journey began when Lomar Menz, a veteran in paranormal investigation, set out with his partner, Chelsea, to document any spiritual activity in a location steeped in legends of dark curses. But what they found that night didn't just haunt their memories. It may have left something far worse behind. The pair embarked on a winter camping trip deep into a mountainous wilderness, a place avoided by locals and shrouded in eerie folklore. The atmosphere around them felt different the moment they arrived, as if the very land was holding its breath. A deep silence hung over the forest, not the usual quiet of nature, but a silence that seemed unnatural. No wind rustled through the trees, no creatures scurried in the underbrush. Instead, the stillness felt suffocating, almost as if the forest was waiting for something, or someone. Though the air was biting with a cold, it wasn't the temperature that made their skin crawl. There was an unnameable presence in the air, something far older than the trees themselves, something that knew they had come. It was as if the land itself was watching them, weighing them. Despite this overwhelming feeling, Lomar and Chelsea pushed forward, determined to complete their mission. They trekked deeper into the wilderness, where the oppressive air seemed to grow heavier with each step. Whispers fluttered between the trees, faint and distant, like voices speaking in an ancient tongue. But it wasn't until they stumbled upon a strange, abandoned structure that things truly began to take a turn for the worse. As the two ventured further into the thick forest, they came across an unexpected sight. A small, decaying hut, half swallowed by the forest around it. The structure was falling apart, a dilapidated hunting cabin that looked like it hadn't seen a soul in decades.
I see something.
What? What the hell? Oh my God, I see that too.
Yeah. What is that?
Yo, it looks like an old cabin or something.
Yeah, it's like a makeshift little hut. Could be someone's like hunting cabin.
Careful. What is it?
I don't know. Kind of looks like an animal trap. A little hut. Why here though?
You okay?
I'm okay. Looks like it was an old like storage container, like a mini one, that someone's just now using for... That's weird. Oh, I think it is someone's hunting camp.
He edged toward the structure cautiously, but his every instinct screamed that they shouldn't be here. It was an odd place for such a hut. Why would someone build a cabin this deep in the forest, where no one ventured? Despite their trepidation, they pressed on, their curiosity urging them closer. But as they set up their spirit communication devices, they were met with something far more terrifying than anything they could have imagined. The devices crackled to life, their static growing louder with each passing second. Then, the whispers started. The words were fractured, barely coherent, but each syllable chilled their bones.
It just said they placed a curse.
They placed a curse?
That's what it just said. They placed a curse. I don't blame them. Stolen land. If someone came in and stole my land that I worked really hard to find and to build a whole community and then someone stole it, I would place a curse too.
This wasn't just an ordinary haunting. Whatever inhabited this place wasn't merely a lost spirit or a wandering ghost. This entity was bound to the land, to the very earth beneath their feet. It wasn't just watching them, it was angry, and it didn't want them there. The silence that followed was unbearable, stretching into an eternity before it was violently shattered by a scream.
Completely
I need more energy.
Oh, did you hear that?
You say we need more energy?
Yeah, but the banging's back. What the hell?
What is that?
You are worthy.
You can help us by communicating with us. We'd love to know your story or who you are. I don't know, but that's a drone. I just saw a shadow in our tent.
Could it have been the tent itself?
Nope, that was a shadow. That looked like a person. Are you by our tent? That looked like a person going into the tent. I saw the arm.
My name is Chelsea, and this is Lamar.
It does feel very indigenous here though.
It does.
Just has that vibe.
The child wants help.
Chels, the child.
Now,
Child's back.
Is
Child's
this Spirit
back.
Talker?
Yeah, Spirit Talker. Child's back.
No, it's not that.
I'm angry.
That's twice. I'm upset. I'm angry.
Yeah.
Lomar and Chelsea tried to rationalize what they'd witnessed, but the evidence was undeniable. Something, perhaps a spirit bound by curse or a malevolent force, was watching them, waiting. The air itself felt oppressive, thick with the kind of terror that sank into your bones and stayed there. What happened to Lomar and Chelsea that night was more than just an encounter with the supernatural. It was a warning. A curse had been placed on the land, something ancient and tied to the very soul of the wilderness. As they were forced to pack up and leave, the silence that greeted them was deafening. The forest had spoken, its message clear. You are not welcome here. Could this curse have been a relic of some long-lost civilization? Or was it something far more primal, tied to the indigenous land that once flourished there? Many theories abound when it comes to places like this, places where strange energies linger, where old grudges and ancient rites still hold sway. Imagine this. You're deep in the woods, surrounded by darkness. Your only source of light, the flickering glow of a campfire. The night is eerily still. But then, just outside your tent, you hear it. Faint footsteps crunching through the underbrush. At first, you dismiss it. Maybe it's just a fox, an owl, or the wind playing tricks on your mind. But what if it wasn't? What if you weren't alone out there? That's exactly what YouTuber Dan and his friend Flex experienced one chilling night in November 2022. What started as an innocent camping trip in the infamous Epping Forest, a place notorious for ghost stories and unsolved mysteries, quickly spiraled into a real-life nightmare. And as you'll soon see, the footage they captured might just be the most unsettling thing they've ever encountered.
Well, if we go around the back of the church and camp in the forest there, we can have a fire because we're not on the graveyard. Are you ready to go and find somewhere to camp?
Dan, known for his adventurous explorations of abandoned and haunted locations, had set up camp with Flex near an old, decaying church. As they settled in, they couldn't shake the eerie feeling creeping over them. The vast, empty woods carried an unsettling silence, broken only by the occasional rustling of leaves. As they prepared their meal, a sudden, unexplainable sound echoed through the darkness, a deep, hollow thump.
It's just the weird woods, that's what it is.
I kind of feel better in this tent though.
No, I do. You know what? I feel safer in this big tent.
I'm going to try some now. I've never actually tried it.
All the hard work that went into it. Oh!
Later that night, as they sat inside their tent, the noises escalated. First, a distant scream. Then, something, or someone, circled their tent. The sound of footsteps crushing leaves and twigs became unmistakable. Dan and Flex sat in complete silence, their breath shallow, their hearts pounding. Then, without warning, something struck their tent, hard. At this point, any thoughts of an animal were gone. This was deliberate. This was human. It wasn't until the next morning, back at their hotel, that they reviewed the footage from their outdoor security camera, and that's when they saw it. In the footage, a shadowy figure emerges from the tree line, moving silently toward their campsite. The person stops mere feet from their tent, standing completely still, just watching. Then, as if sensing Dan and Flex were awake, the figure darts back into the darkness. It wasn't an animal. It wasn't the wind. It was someone. But who? And why were they there, lurking in the shadows, watching two unsuspecting campers? Dan and Flex had assumed they were alone that night. They weren't. Someone had been stalking them, waiting in the darkness, silent and unmoving. But what was their intention? Was this a would-be attacker sizing up his victims? Or was it someone or something more sinister? What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. Phil, an experienced hiker and outdoor enthusiast, had been sharing his adventures on his YouTube channel Hike Slam since 2017. His videos were a mix of survival tips, gear recommendations, and breathtaking nature shots. But one night, just before Thanksgiving 2021, his solo hiking trip took a turn that no amount of experience could have prepared him for. What started as a peaceful journey through the Appalachian Trail in Virginia soon became a chilling encounter that left him and those who watched his footage questioning what or who was lurking in those woods. For the first part of his hike, everything seemed normal. The crisp autumn air, the rustling of leaves, the rhythmic crunch of his boots against the dirt trail. It was the kind of serene atmosphere that drew Phil to the outdoors in the first place. But then, he stumbled upon something strange. Scattered along the side of the trail were discarded plastic containers, each one covered in handwritten text. Song lyrics, poems, disjointed ramblings. Who had left them there, and why? The eerie discoveries didn't stop there. As Phil ventured deeper into the forest, he found more unsettling signs, cryptic notes, conspiracy theories scribbled on scraps of paper, and worst of all, the lifeless body of a duck lying next to them. The implications were deeply unsettling. Was someone using these woods for something far more sinister? Phil pressed on cautiously, his unease growing with every step. Just 20 yards away, he spotted a small makeshift campsite, an abandoned tarp, a smoldering fire. Someone had been here, possibly just moments before. Later that night, Phil reached a shelter deep within the Appalachian wilderness, hoping to put some distance between himself and whatever he had just encountered. But the horror wasn't over yet. Inside the shelter logbook, hikers typically leave notes, lighthearted anecdotes, tips for fellow travelers, or simple greetings.
So let's see what this one says. Little engine, back section. Hiking again, finally. It's nice and little trail magic. Some comics and writing and stuff. Alright, let's see what's happened recently. Holy crap. Wait a second. Well, I'm gonna adjust the camera here. This writing looks almost exactly like the writing that was on that garbage a couple of miles from here. In 2018, while I was incarcerated at the Okaloosa County Jail. What the heck? In solitary confinement, I figured the following out. Refer to Isaiah 28:15 through 9. This is the same ramblings from the guy that was on the other side of the river. That's kind of scary. Kind of weird. Those women down there said they were going to call the police on the guy. Wow, this is weird. It's just like it goes in one direction, then immediately goes in a completely different direction. And there's just so much of it. Like this line up here. Think grave robbery in an attempt to obscure the reality of little Mrs. Wolf. Content. Come up with some more of those wicked schemes, JB and company, so I can show some more of your true character.
But the question remains, who was leaving those notes? And what would have happened if Phil had stayed just a little longer? Could this have been the work of a disturbed individual living undetected in the wilderness? Or was it something even more sinister? What do you think? Let us know in the comments.